can wall in. So I'm Becky Saunders. I'm with the Media Center in Palo Alto. And some of the equipment that you're using today is courtesy of the Media Center. We're supporting Shelley and her team. And we're very proud to do so. I think Shelley's done a great job. Shelley, are you watching? So I'm the programming manager. I also have a lot to do with building community partnerships and outreach. And then our guests on the panel today are, let's see, we have Gary Martin, who's the Executive Director of Access Sacramento. And yes, give it up for Gary. And let's give it up for Don Pollock, Station Manager, Laverne Television. All right, so we're going to start. We're going to start with Don. And I think the format will be, we'll each present. I'm just being a little bit authoritarian because I did some research on how to moderate a panel. So we'll each present, and then you can ask questions pertinent to that presenter. And if there's broader questions that we want to address, we'll make a note, and then we can kick it back to that. But we just want to get through all the presentations and have hyper presentation related questions, and then we'll open it up to general questions. Okay. And personal histories will be limited to, say, what, 5 minutes? Or no kidding. Well, I was a baby. All right, so Don.
Okay, thank you. So I manage 2 access centers, and I kind of do that in my spare time. And they're small cities, 30,000 or so people each. And so I think these guys' presentations are going to be a little bit more proactive in terms of here's things to think about and strategies. I'm going to do more of a, I hate to say rambling, but it's sort of, this is my history in access, and here are the things I've learned about strategic planning in different communities along the way. So I have multiple jobs, so I'm a professor at the University of Laverne, and I'm sorry for the small font, but these are the University of Laverne and the City of Laverne colors, so I picked them. We used to be a big orange growing area, so orange and green. Before I became a professor and before I got into access, I was a filmmaker, so that's one of the ways I identify myself, and I'm still active in producing videos. I also serve as an administrator, as the head of the broadcast program at the university, and then that's why I say I manage the access centers in my spare time, and I don't recommend that as a model. I started off in Pasadena Community Access Corporation, now Pasadena Media, back in 1990, and one of our proud employees is here. From there I moved on to West Covina, which is also in Southern California, and then when I took a job at the university in 1991, that access operation became available, and we just took on a few years ago a neighboring city, so we're managing their community access station too. So around the time I first got into access, even just a little bit before, there was a town in Southern California, Monterey Park, which was next to the town I was living in. And some of you may know that in Monterey Park, a developer from Taiwan came in the 1970s. He said, there's a lot of people in Taiwan with a lot of money now, and they want to come to Los Angeles, but they don't want to live in Chinatown. So he went around door to door in Monterey Park and said, tell people your house is worth $30,000. I'll give you $50,000 cash. People, of course, said yes. And then he turned around and sold the houses for $75,000 to people from Taiwan and later from China, causing the largest demographic shift in the history of the world in 15 years, going from 1 or 2% Asian to a community that was over 50% Asian, and today even more. So you can imagine with this kind of shift, this causes some tensions. So at one of the high schools, Mark Keppel High School, there were race riots between the Asian students and the Latino students. So at that time, I proposed a California Arts Council grant, and I said, I want to go work at the high school and have the students at the high school make videos about each other's culture as a way of understanding through media. California Arts Council loved that, gave me the grant, and I wasn't really that successful in carrying out my program. But along the way, I met another California Arts Council artist who was working at the Chino prison. And we started to do video exchanges between the students in the high school and the prisoners from the video club. And both groups really loved it. We couldn't air the stuff because of confidentiality rules, but it was an important lesson for me in terms of building strategic partnerships and realizing sometimes they come from places where you least expect them. Along the way, through the California Arts Council, I met a number of storytellers, and this becomes important in the next phase of my strategic planning career. So things may have changed, but in my day at the Pasadena Access Corporation, there was a partnership between Pasadena City College, the Access Corporation, and the Pasadena Unified School District. So these are great. These educational collaborations can be great, but they are fraught with problems, and I'll address some of those. And just as a side note, years ago when this conference was in Sacramento, I first met Gary, and he was an educator, I was an educator, and we did a panel about the confluence of access and academia, and so things have moved ahead quite a bit. So part of what each group offered back in this strategic partnership was that the community college offered office space and their production truck. So they taught classes with the truck, and then the Access Corporation would use it to shoot productions, both community productions and later productions, to raise money. The Access Corporation had the equipment, they provided the training, and they had most of the personnel. And the school district had the studio space. So the Access Center would use the studio space in the morning, the school district would use the studio space for a ROP program in the afternoon, and the Access Center would use the studio space at night and utilize some of the ROP students on the Access productions, and some of those students went on to become employees of the Access Center. One of the things I learned along the way was the person who hired me at the Access Corporation was not from a video background, not from a media background, she was from a nonprofit background. And so she viewed things in a whole different way. But one of the really interesting things when I first went to Pasadena that they did was they identified community leaders. And they said, to attract attention to the station, we are going to have you come in and produce shows. And that means you're really coming up with the idea. And the Access Center is going to support you. And they're monthly live call-in shows, and you have your own slot. It was a very interesting model because these community leaders all had constituencies who followed them. And it was a great way to build interest in the station. This new executive director, who was the one who hired me, said, I don't really want to have these people have these positions for life. So she tried to swap those out, and that was a source of great tension. But Pasadena Access Corporation also continued their connection with the California Arts Council, and they hired a video artist to come in and teach video art classes, instead of just the usual training classes that we do, to people who are interested in that kind of thing on the weekends. And it was a wildly successful program that lasted for several years. So again, a little bit different. This new executive director also began to contract with other cities, and said, we're going to go to the next city, Sierra Madre, and we'll contract with you to shoot your city council meetings. And a lot of you do these kind of things, but this was pretty forward-thinking back in the early 90s. The other part was these storytellers that I met through the Arts Council, I started to bring them into the Access Center and do storyteller videos. And it's a whole really interesting group of people. And one of the videos that we made with a guy named Michael McCarty went on to win an award from AFI, and I was pretty proud of that at the time. We're talking about doing research. Well, now there's a lot more sophisticated ways to do it. But back then, doing research, our executive director found out the things that people are most interested in are shows about sex and shows about aliens. So that was what she wanted to do. So we actually had the secretary of our Access Center had been kidnapped by aliens many times, and so she went on the air and told the stories of the time she'd been abducted in great detail, and the despicable things that the aliens did to her in the spaceship. And it was actually very compelling Access television. My background before I became a film guy was I was a social worker in Hawaii, and I was a sex educator and sex therapist. So I was encouraged to create my show dealing with a live call-in show about issues about sex. So created the Sex Talk show. So that was fun for me to be able to get to do. From there I moved on to the city of West Covina, and that particular position, they called it a producer position. But of the 135 people that interviewed for the job, I was the only one who came in and talked about access and bringing that in, and that was why they hired me for the position. And again, this was a partnership between the city of West Covina, Mount San Antonio College, which is actually in Walnut, California, the largest community college in the United States, and the cable company. So they all put in some money to make this operation work, and everything was housed at the community college. So now I'm in charge. I'm not just the second in command. So what do you do? So before I got there, they actually were able to work with the utility company to do a survey of viewers. It was a fairly sophisticated survey, and it went out with the utility bill, so it was paid for them. I mean, it was a fairly high response rate. So they used to do a monthly show with the Chamber of Commerce. And when the responses came back in the survey, they found out that 0 people, nobody watched the Chamber of Commerce show. So I had to go to the Chamber and say, we're not doing your show anymore because you don't have a constituency. So they didn't like that. But I began to recruit in the community. So just as a little side note, my wife found a dog one day, a stray dog, and brought it home, and we found the owner, and she said, you have young kids, you keep the dog. And everybody in the family was really distressed that the dog bonded with me because I was the alpha male of the family. And so I said, well, that's really a good strategy to go out in the community and find the alpha dogs in the community and try and bond with them. So people, of course, are interested in schools, and I did that. And there was a large Japanese population in the community, so I went to the Buddhist temple, and the head of the temple said, I don't understand. Why would we want to do this? And you would explain this is a win-win situation and how access works. And I'd come back a few months later and kind of explain it again and just kind of be very patient. One of the big successes I had was with a guy named Forrest Tennant. Forrest Tennant was a local doctor who wrote the drug policy for the NFL. So he was a bigwig in the community. So cozying up to this guy, I got to get invited to some parties and so forth and be able to promote access this way. And Forrest Tennant was a guest on a show and ended up hosting his own show, which continued after I left. And I also brought in community producers, which they never had before in this particular place. So as ideal as this situation seems, there was terrible conflict because the city had certain goals that they wanted, and the college, which was in a different city, had certain goals they wanted about educating students, and me, as seeing myself as the access coordinator, wanted to bring access producers in, and either the city or college wanted those. So sometimes these things that look great on paper don't always work that well in reality. So then I moved on to the University of Laverne, and this was a model situation because I'm the head of the broadcast program and I also manage the Community Access Center. So I just go across the hall and talk to myself, and between myself I get to decide how we're going to collaborate. It works great. So schools are very big in our district, so we have a close working relationship with the high school and the middle school, and that was part of our agreement, that we'd actually produce shows with the students from both schools. So those were great partnerships. As the schools have gotten their own equipment, they're much less dependent on us to help them in that way, and now we hear their shows. The City of Laverne has one of the great choral singing programs in the United States, and it starts in elementary school and continues all the way to high school. So we have partnership with these programs, and we have our students shoot those shows, and we partnered with the head of the choral program and said, we want to sell DVDs of the show, and we'll give you a piece of the action as a way to get you more interested in giving out the forms to the students and so forth. And the other part of this is that they do a for-profit show at the end of the year where they sell out a local theater, and we actually hire a professional crew for that and charge a lot more for those particular DVDs. Most of you do sports, so again, we've hooked up with high schools to do this. And you know, we have a more formal relationship with Little League. Instead of just showing up, we see it as a partnership, and we give all the kids in the Little League team questionnaires so the announcers can talk about them specifically. He really loves Pokemon, and his hero is. So it makes it a little bit more personal. In this city, in the two cities we work in now, we have a much better relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, and they do a Teacher of the Year event, and they help us sell the DVDs. And one of the other things is Los Angeles County Fair is in our backyard, largest county fair in the United States, and we built a great strategic partnership with them. So I produce a show with my students called Spotlight, which is a video magazine show. It's a series of 5-minute documentaries about people, places, and events in the local community, and we theme each show. And so the first show of the year is LA County Fair, because there's so much going on there. And then, of course, we give the DVDs to the fair so they can have them for their records, and that's led to paid work for us and our students. We also do a themed local arts and culture show, a unique local business show, and this year I've added a sports and nonprofit show. 5-minute videos that get edited together into a whole segment. We also do a news program, Foothill Community News. It's a partnership between the two cities that we work with and universities, so news of these 3 different programs. Many of you do a PSA day, a public service announcement day. We invite local nonprofits in. This was so successful for us when we used to have the time to do it that we actually made nonprofit videos. We said, okay, here's the 3 questions you need to answer. You're going to come in, we're going to talk show in the studio, 7 to 8 minutes long. We'll give you the video, you can use it however you want. We'll edit them together into a 24-minute show, 3 of the segments, or when we get shorter shows, we'll also use them as filler for our own programs. So that's kind of worked out really well for us, and has also led to paid work making promo videos for local nonprofits. We're very big. We call ourselves the multicultural station in town. So we have people do spots for us for Black History Month, St. Patrick's Day, Chinese New Year's, Hispanic Heritage Month. And because our operations manager is Hawaiian, we also do spots for King Kamehameha Day and Prince Kuhio Day, among others. And we don't want people just coming on and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, happy St. Patrick's Day. We try and do a little education with this, and that outreach is a partnership as well. We used to do an awareness day for Thanksgiving. We'd go out in the community and ask people, what do you have to be thankful for? And that was a great way to involve the community. Well, Martin Luther King Day, we do a thing out in the community. What does Martin Luther King mean to me? And back when it was 1999, December 31st, we went out the street, cruised around, and asked people what their resolutions were for the new millennium. We do a lot of outreach for the classes that we teach. We actually write to all the schools in the community, all the nonprofit agencies, as well as sending out flyers and press releases, and trying to get the word out in city newsletters. There's a big retirement home in the community too, so we work with them and have them publicize the classes for us. The retirement home used to come to us frequently and ask us to cover things for them, so finally we created a community cruiser class just for them, and we trained up the geriatrics at the care home, and they actually come to our student video screening at the end of the year, and they pick the videos that they like. We do another screening at the retirement home, so that's been a great partnership for us. We're big on film festivals too. A number of years ago, kind of from the whole alliance idea of the Hometown Media Festival, we started a video festival for high school students called My Hometown. Make a movie 5 minutes long about your hometown. It can be a comedy, a drama, a music video, something weird. We got prizes donated, and we targeted a certain number of communities around our community, partially as a promotion to get students to apply to the university, but also to encourage high school filmmakers. It was a local film festival they put on in Pomona called the Smog Dance Festival. It became very successful, and then there were a lot of politics around it. There's another one run out of the Claremont Colleges called the 909 Film Festival, which is our area code. All the movies need to be 9 minutes and 9 seconds long or shorter. The festival plays on September 9th, and it celebrates filmmakers who live and work in the 909 area code or shoot their films there. So that's been great. And the other film festivals we've been successful at are Chaffey College and the San Bernardino Valley College Film Festival. And these are new. So film festivals are becoming bigger and bigger. And if you put on your own, a place called Sacramento is a great example, and maybe Gary will talk more about that. We do a lot of outreach to high school students because we're a university, but also to educate people about what we're doing. So we give video production and performance scholarships. We have a recruitment event called Communications Day, where we bring in local high school students and tell them about our program at the university, but also we sell them on Access and some of these other things. More and more high school students need to do senior projects now and internships, and they're coming to us in great numbers, and we try to rope them in, put them to work for the Access Center. What I've learned finishing up here is about promotion. Promotion is everything, and everything you do needs to be promoted. And I think we're hearing that clear and clear with the use of social media. It becomes much easier to do. We've done it in more old school ways over the years. The other thing I've learned is, unfortunately, money is everything. Our budget was cut 40% when we went to state franchising. So rather than do all these great outreach things, more of my efforts are placed on raising money these days. So I work very hard at getting community buy-in to what we do, of monetizing things. We rarely can do things in the community for free anymore. Our classes used to be free. We started charging $50 per person for the class. They became much more popular once we did that. And we do a lot of production services on sales of DVDs, as many of you do. Some of the fundraising efforts related to this, we used to do a lot of promotional work for our own university, which was fun. With a new president, we don't get to do very much of that, but because we put together this 4-camera remote production truck, we shoot 30 community events a year. When we're not using that, we're shooting college graduations and other things, and it's a great money maker for us. And then again, I mentioned that high school pop show they do at the end of the year. So that's my story.
Yeah. Any questions for Don?
Yeah. What have you not done?
Yeah.
We're weak on social media.
I can get by the copyright issues in some of our programs where you have music or.
It's an issue. That one I tend to ignore it, and I've kind of been okay. But here's an interesting one. We shoot a local rodeo. So at the beginning of the rodeo, they have, you know, these super patriotic songs playing while skydivers are coming out of the air. Well, you could make the case that because we're there, that's the background music playing, it's fair use. But YouTube contacted me yesterday saying you're violating copyright by muting the audio on this video. So it's a problem with those choral events, but I feel the benefits outweigh those issues, and many of those composers have been dead for 150 years. So.
But their estates are earning more money than when they were alive. On the copyright.
Thank you, Don. Next we have Gary Martin from Access Sacramento.
Well, unlike perhaps many of you, I'm the new kid on the block in that I just took over as executive director of Access Sacramento just over 3 months ago when Ron Cooper, after 27 years with Access Sacramento, retired. And so I'm feeling very much like the new kid on the block, and Don and I have a shared history that goes back a little ways, but mostly because we're both university experienced guys. Don from College of Laverne, and I was at Cosumnes River College in Sacramento for 20 years before I walked away from that tenured position to this job. But having been on the board from Access Sacramento, I can give you some of the history, and more importantly, as we talk about building lasting strategic partnerships, I've been around long enough with Access to at least give you some of the strategies that the board has had, which is why I'll talk much about creating strategic partnerships as opposed to just doing stuff. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going to go with all of this. I'll tell you that you need to focus your energies. Don has a long history and a long list of things that he's done, and I would only point out that much of that I would think comes because he has help from students. And for us, we have a relatively small staff. We have 5 full-time employees and another 4 that are 3/4 time, and about 22 on-call production staff. So that's kind of the paid route that we go. So almost everything that we do obviously has to be paid for, but we are selective to a great degree about what we do because we have limited resources. So I'm going to suggest that you need to do a variety of things, which includes evaluating your core values. And that means that you need to know what those values are, and that means strategic planning and doing basic needs assessment for training and equipment resources. And I'm going to go through these more in length, so all of these graphics are going to come up when we go into the detail. And that means you also need to fulfill your primary mission. If you become too diversified in what you're doing, it's very difficult to actually accomplish something because you're spread so thin. So fulfill your primary mission, and that means pick your partnerships wisely. And you know, our slogan, our mission statement is making a difference one voice at a time. So we speak a lot about free speech rights, diversity, and democracy in our community in fulfilling our mission and creating partnerships that advance those opportunities within the Access world. And then, of course, everything you do needs to be visible, and you have to market it appropriately. And that means making sure that your programs and services are visible in the community. and that you can leverage the things that you do and the monies that you receive in order to be as successful as you possibly can. So kind of coming down through this list individually, you know, if you're evaluating your core values, as with the session this morning, I really recommend that if you haven't done a strategic plan, that you need to do so. And that if you haven't done one in a while, that you may want to get professional help in order to make that happen. We did a strategic plan just a couple of years ago in advance of knowing that we were going to hire a new executive director. And that allowed us to create 5 strategic directions that we're going to focus our energies on in the next 3 to 5 years. So part of that includes this list here. To rebrand and raise awareness of our community media center, to expand and diversify our funding, because of course we're primarily associated with our cable commission, but need other unrestricted dollars to be able to do the things that we need to do. One of our strategic directions is to actually have a strong and engaged board, and that means we're examining who applies very carefully and picking members based on the things that they can bring to the organization. It's an application process, and we do review that. We, of course, in our primary strategic direction, want to provide services, equipment, and programming to meet the needs of our community. That's obviously a core value and one of the things that the Cable Commission wants to make sure that we do. And then we're specifically looking at our signal quality and ultimately still striving to get all of our programs on all of the program guides in the 3 community services, the 3 community cable companies that we work with for the channels that we do. So how do we align then the partnerships that make this happen? It begins obviously with our primary member services. Our primary mission is in training and equipment resources. That's what the Cable Commission pays us to do. So that means that we're going to provide training classes in single and multiple camera kinds of operations. We also have an internet radio station that also, when our bulletin board is on the air, is the backdrop for the cable channel. So when we are not in regular programming, our radio producers are on the channels, and that is a big chunk actually on our weekend, when people are actually at home and can hear the things that are happening from our radio producers, the voice. That means you also have to have membership support. We do an orientation twice a month where people get to learn about our services. Ultimately, they join as members. We charge a whopping total of $30 a year in order to become a member. We do also charge for our classes, which are typically $50 or $60 for 8 3-hour sessions. That gives basic capacity for shooting and editing or using our studio. And of course, we also, in addition to encouraging people to become producers and create their own programs, within Sacramento County, we encourage people also to bring other programs to us. They can become providers. It's one of the reasons why our 2 channels, one in public access has a lot of religious programming on it, because if you belong to a church that has a national broadcast of a half hour or an hour, they ship it to you, you bring it to us, and that's where a lot of our public access programming comes from. Membership maintenance, obviously we have individual members for $30, and that gives you an opportunity to take our classes, become certified. If you are certified, then you can use our studio for free. You can use our equipment and check it out for free based on the membership and the training that we provide. The purpose to get your voice into the community. And we stress that a lot. What is it that you have to say? We can help you get it out there. If you are creating programming and want a regular series contract, your program every Tuesday night, 7:30, promotable, then we do that with a series contract. The series contract's available to you after you have 4 programs that you brought to us successfully that have available technical quality, consistently turned under our rules for timing and getting them turned in on time. And if you've done that 4 times successfully, you can get a series contract, have your program on a regular time, so you can promote it. We charge for that, not a lot. But if you want your half-hour program on our channel 52 weeks for a half hour, $175. And if you want an hour-long program, regular time slot promotable, $325. So you can get a little bit more money out of that in order to generate that series contract for a promotable time slot. We actually charge for that. We also do a variety of things for member of the year, kinds of things with our annual member, new series providers, new series producers, producer of the year, radio producer of the year. We award our members for the good work that they do. These are partnerships then with our own members, encouraging them to take responsibility for what they want to bring to us. Beyond that, of course, in service to the primary mission, your partnership hopefully is with your primary funder, and that's going to be through the Cable Commission or through your local government. And we see that as a primary duty to make sure that our cable commissioners are happy, that we are responsible to their communities. The Cable Commission has 12 different members on it, and that represents the city of Sacramento and 4 other cities, plus the county of Sacramento. In Sacramento County, we serve 280,000 households, and that obviously has a far-reaching kind of difference for us because we're a community media center. But we reach 40 miles to the east and 20 miles to the south, and there's a huge area that we have to cover. As part of that, we look to our other professional groups in the area to help support that which we do. So there are 3 primary ones that we want to mention, and then the 2 new ones that are at the bottom of this particular list. Sacramento Video Industry Professionals, the California Film Arts Alliance, and the California Film Foundation. They are filmmakers in the local area that are primarily community members based. SAC VIPs is actually mostly working professionals who get together monthly to support themselves with new training. But there is one new one that I want to mention, and that's the Northern California Film Coalition. The NCFC is actually housed within Access Sacramento and meets in our offices. With 3 other professional groups, this group of people found that when they went to all of the other members and membership groups and they looked around, nobody looked like they did. So what that means is that the Northern California Film Coalition is actually primarily built of Black African American filmmakers who found that they did not have a home. Well, now they do. And within Access Sacramento, they meet every Wednesday night for an hour to an hour and a half. And for us providing space for them, they have become a prolific kind of media group that now has made some short films. They make a monthly program, a half-hour program called Sacramento Filmworks that airs out of our studio and on our channel. It is a spectacular experience for people that never would have been involved with Access if we hadn't simply offered them a little bit of space, and it's been wonderful. We also partner with our youth group locally called Tower of Youth. I do a film festival twice a year. We just broadcast 8 hours of live programming from a downtown theater in support of their 5 Showcase Film Festival and media speaker. We followed that 8 hours of programming that particular Friday, 2 hours later with a 3-hour live football game. So we did 11 hours of live programming, a record for us on that particular game. So those are partnerships of groups that already do some video or needed housing space to make that happen. We have other business partnerships that I want to mention. That includes video streaming services. It's a local business company that we have partnered with for 5 or 6 years. They're the ones that actually stream our 2 web channels when we are on the web, when we are live on our channel. They also do a variety of other outreach pieces for us and support us in a variety of ways. They're helping us with a community media project. They've done a variety of other internal kinds of partnership elements that support our interior video navigation network for ingest of programming directly to our server, where the public either brings or uses one of our computers to upload into our server, or now we have nearly 20 people who are actually ingesting from home directly onto our server, and then we program from there. So that streaming partnership has been a true value to us. We also have a strategic partnership with the California Endowment, which is primarily a health agency. The California Endowment just recently re-granted us a $50,000 grant in support of a youth journalism training program. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but the youth journalism training program allows us to use aggregated videos that are created by 6 to 8 young people who are paid stipends to write for our local news blog website, accesslocal.tv. Those programs are aggregated into a half-hour show that airs on our channel, but the California Endowment pays for that writing and that production service through Access Sacramento. That's a 2-year deal worth $50,000 that we're very proud of. I talk about free speech and democracy because it's a connection in our community that is well founded in our background. Our mission statement involves making a difference, one voice at a time. And when I do the orientation for the new folks, typically twice a month we'll have 12 to 20 people who are going to show up at our station to find out about what a membership would mean to them. And the question I ask them is, what do you have to say? Because the response is, we can help. Whether it's outreach, whether it's training, whether it's equipment, what is it that you need, what has brought you here? Because whatever it is, we're able to help you with that. And that's the drive home message for them to become a member. A couple of pieces along those lines, for example, we work with the Sacramento Chamber in order to encourage business partners to come in and actually rent use of one of our TriCaster Green studios so that they can do small informational videos that air on our channel. They pay $100 an hour and a $2 minimum in order to use our green studio to create informational videos that they can put on their website, that they can then, we air on our channel and on our websites. And we don't have a lot of traction in this yet, but part of that includes, for example, us going out to their business expo and doing a little mini documentary. Talk about how we make those documentaries happen, because there's a monetized way of making that go. Free speech, of course, is a big part of what we do as well, and that's the idea that if you have something to say that's political, we want to be able to help you with that. The purpose of Access is to get issues of public importance out into the community. That's what the definition of free speech and debate is all about. And so we harp on that a lot, because we want to make sure that people know that political speech is a part of the mission of Access, to give you an opportunity to influence voters, to influence lawmakers, and to use Access as your vehicle for being heard. As part of that democratic support, we work with the League of Women Voters many times to do voter advocacy information hearings, and we televise those events, either with single or multi-camera coverage. And also, as public access, we have 2 channels. Government access has 2 channels. And educational access has 2 channels. But when the city of Sacramento needed to have its State of the City speech televised, they came to us, because the government channel does not have the capacity to go out into the field. So they came to us, we brought out our live view unit and our TriCaster, we televised the mayor's State of the City speech on our channel using equipment that comes from the Cable Commission, and this is a part of the, support the Cable Commission stuff and deal with the issues that they want to have dealt with. Those strategic decisions support you in your partnerships as you move forward. So within the scope of visibility and marketing, we obviously have our own local website, and the website has push here to watch channel 17, push here to watch channel 18. But we also work with the California Endowment on the accesslocal.tv website. We play videos from there. It is a news blog that is very active. More than 14,000 different articles over the course of the last 3 years. So we have a lot of things going on within that website. We post our highlight videos of Game of the Week there, preview articles, we talk about our own shows. There's a lot of stuff that's happening there all the time. The most important part of that youth training and journalism partnership, though, is because the California Endowment has several strategic areas that they are targeting within their plans. We have a neighborhood news bureau that is founded with those young folks in one of those strategic areas. Their program, Building Healthy Communities, that is looking for outreach in health areas. And the journalism training program many times focuses on health-related issues because it serves both of those missions. It does take staff leadership to make that happen. We have a 10-hour employee who's also on a different grant program that brokers this for us and helps make the Access Local program work. We do 2 community fundraising programs in support of that youth training program. One that Dawn has already mentioned is the annual Place Called Sacramento Film Festival. It is actually and we're coming up on our 15th annual festival. It started initially as a screenplay writing competition. Write a 10-minute film about Sacramento. And then from within that realm, in the highest amount I think is nearly 70 applications.
Average is 70.
Average is 70 applications, 70 film scripts that are brought in. We select 10 for production. They can either produce the film themselves or we can co-produce it with them. And those 10 films then air in a guaranteed showing in one of our big theaters as a major fundraiser for us. We sat 726 people just about a month ago into a large theater for people who wanted to see these 10 films. It's a major fundraiser for us. California Endowment supports that along with a variety of other local businesses. The second fundraiser that's a part of this support for this particular program is Sacramento Has Town. It's modeled after a relatively traditional talent show, but it is all promoted through having already won a talent show. So if you're already an award winner and have a YouTube video up and you're from Sacramento, we want to see that. And we're going to put you on the big stage. We're going to televise you in a major way. We get sponsors for this particular event as well. And again, we're going to seat as many people as we can in a fundraising event that's not a $10 movie ticket like a place called Sacramento is, but in fact sponsored seats at $25 or $50 a head in order to get in to see this particular show. So it's a major fundraiser for us and a partnership with a local business. So the big part of what we're able to do is leverage that which is a major part of our coverage area, and that has to do with hometown TV and our Game of the Week grant. The Cable Commission, like some other places, took a major chunk of our funding about 10 years ago. So in trying to get a big part of that back, we said, well, you know, we used to do Game of the Week, but we had to cut that back because we didn't have funding for it. So what if you gave us some money back and we'll bring this event back? So we essentially allowed them to buy our services on a grant, which was very cool, which is now $98,000 a year to do 50 events. So about $2,000 per event. Now, 50 guaranteed, we actually do generally about 65. And some of these are major event coverage. Obviously, when we go out to do high school football, if you watch the Wave Awards tonight, we're nominated in sports in 2 categories. A major event for like high school football has a 22-person crew. We're talking about 3 staff people, 4 cameras, 2 replay people, graphics, a technical director, a full director, audio people, 2 support people, an additional engineer, a sideline reporter, parabolic microphone, and you know that's a major event for us, and it's going to cost us close to $2,000 to be able to staff it because those are paid people. Some volunteers. But most of the other events don't take nearly that. To do a small parade, you know, we're talking about a staff of 7 or 8. To do single camera coverage based on a hometown TV grant application. You know, you want your event covered, we're going to go out and cover it, send a single camera, we throw it open and close on it, a couple shots of B-roll captured before the major speaker that was there, and that becomes a hometown TV event as well. So all of those things kind of have to be leveraged as the things that you do that are part of your core mission that you can charge and strategically partner on, because you don't want to have to just get a grant or do something to add work to your staff. You know, your staff can only do so much. So creating strategic partnerships that allow you to get paid for the things you're already doing is a really good strategy. How to make that happen. So that's kind of where we're going. All of the approaches that I take are based in what I would call an interest-based approach. Why are they asking for your help? And what is their core value? They're asking you for coverage, but there's something more that they want. And what is that? Is it publicity? Is it respect? Is it viability? What is it that they're after? And by thinking about why they're asking for coverage, you can address their specific need, and more importantly, you can leverage that into how to support yourself. And you can then talk about those needs. Is it a respect issue? Then address those issues of respect and how this program will help you, and maybe you can come up with $250 or $500 to support the event that we're doing out of the things that you do. We want a major sponsorship ad in your program. All those things in trade-off for creating your own visibility and market. My personal approach, which I learned from Ron Cooper many years ago, is there's never a need to say no. There's always an opportunity to discuss and to move forward and to consider options and to find a way for our needs and your needs to be in alignment. And you're going to very rarely hear me say, no, we're not going to do that. But we may talk for a long time until we come to agreement on what we're not going to do. But we're going to continue to work very hard on that. And remember the ask. Become a member, sponsor us, make a donation. Do you simply want to be in our newsletter and email blast? We send 2,700 emails out every Tuesday morning to the people who want to know about us. We work hard on Mondays in an entire staff of writing articles and supporting the things that we do, because we recognize this outreach is critical, because it supports every partnership that we have. We do Facebook, we do Twitter. We may do 20 Twitter posts during our high school football games about scores and updates and where to watch us and how to find us and that we're out there. Those all bump from Game of the Week up to Access Sacramento, so they're double tweeted out at that time. And if nothing else, that person maybe wants to fill out a board application to become a member of our board. But it becomes the ask, and we're constantly on the ask. Because they can help us, we can help them, but only if we agree to partner. Everything that you do is a partnership.
Excellent. Any questions for Gary?
Did you have a question?
Well, I think it fits in the category of,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, tidy. I have all these on my laptop.
Oh, yeah, will you be able to give your presentation?
Yes. Actually, the last slide, which I didn't go to, has my email address, and it's just Gary Martin, one word, at accesssacramento.org. I'll be happy to send it to you.
Okay. All right, so my name is Becky Saunders, and I thought I would speak just very specifically about a model that seems to work. Aaron, can you see through my beautiful head?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So
I'm not looking at the screen.
I think in my few years in Access, I have seen a model that works over and over for me. And it's just something that I've caught some patterns. So I want to just talk about the patterns that I've noticed in successful partnerships, whether they're large or small. So let's just start out with this right here. Well, that's a good idea. Where is it? Over there? There? Is it over there? So you got the visual on that. So let's see. Woo! Before I came to the media center in Palo Alto, we had a professional sports coverage team, and they lost their funding during the dot bomb. And so we didn't have a contract with the city or with the schools. So when our funding dried up, the mobile billboard sat in our parking lot. And so that wasn't good. So after I'd been in the media center for about 3 years, I thought, well, I haven't seen this truck move. And I see KMVT's truck all over the place. So, you know, I just started agitating a little bit in a nice way. You know, if you haven't, one of the things you hear at these conferences, if you have an asset, use it, move it, do something with it. And it just kind of, the person that, you know, who pretty much had ownership of the truck, you know, wasn't on the payroll anymore. He'd gone off to do other things, and he said, let me know, I'll come back if we get some funding. So anyway, so we started the sports program on a wing and a prayer. But what I've learned, and there's been some other things like the sports program that I'm working on, and I keep seeing the same pattern over and over again. So if it's worth doing, it's worth doing slowly. It's worth doing badly. It's worth doing small, and it's worth doing heroically. That means you just don't give up. And it doesn't take much to keep me hopeful. I just need a little pulse, you know, just give me a pulse once in a while. So if I get a little encouragement, that will keep me going. So here's my little outline. How do you get from concepts to champions of a movement? Because before your movement can even do anything, you need some people to carry the ball, and you can't carry the ball all by yourself because you get exhausted. And actually, I don't have the expertise needed to launch a major program on my own. So how do you get from concepts to champions? You need to develop, and then once you do that, you got to get a track record. You got to have something to show. And then attraction connection. How do you do that build where people start talking and it gets kind of exciting? And then how do you make it sustainable? All right, so there's the kitty cat, right? Everybody, kitty cat drew everyone in, right? Good. All right, so from concepts to champions. So one of my heroes happens to be getting an award this evening, Bobby Chastain, right here. He was the guy whose truck was always around, and he had the hubris to come to say, oh, Becky, I'm shooting a high school game. It's got one of your high schools in it. You want it? Because it'd be in Mountain View or Cupertino. I go, okay. So then I went and saw his model, and I saw that he did everything with volunteers, that he was kind of a one-man show, and there seemed to be a lot of positive energy around the sports program, but they did have the advantage of having a contract with the city. And I'm like, well, God, what can we do? How can we get this thing rolling? So just by talking to Bobby, I also got turned on to Andrew Mellows. So you would have seen Andrew at our beautiful truck, which was on display yesterday. Our truck is 100% analog. And so Andrew is a board member that's very passionate about the truck. You do need to have people on your board that actually know something about access and give a lot of attention. So I got him talking about it. And then, so I just starting to do some conceptualizing around, well, what would it take? Then this guy, Chuck, walks in, and he's a nut. He goes, what's going on with that truck? I used to volunteer on it. What's going on? And so I said, dude, so what we did was he said, well, I'll work to get it up and running, and if we can get something going, you hire me. So I went to Annie, and we did a contingency contract. He still is, he's a video producer, independent contractor, but he kind of took a flyer on this. So I got these people that knew stuff. And then we started, going around within our own youth department at the media center for our youth program, and we actually found some kids that, these were not in our department, but these kids were known to kids in our circle that were sports aficionados. So we did a launch, and we did a training, and people said it couldn't be done. Kids can't roll these 800-pound cables, and kids can't set up cameras, and what the hell are you doing? Are you crazy? And it's like, well, the stuff is being used anyway. You know, it's all gonna have to be, you know, salvaged, so the heck with it. So, oh, and then somebody, my boss, the seed money, that's important, because some stuff had to be repaired, so the media center threw some money at it, and then an individual donor who got wind of it because we were making windy noises said he would kick in about $1,000 to help us repair some stuff and pump up the tires, you know, and so there we go. And that was like, you know, man from heaven for me. So going from concepts to champions, who's going to be the people that you can rely on and who will share your dream with you? And then Shelley told me as long as we didn't hire Bobby away, it could happen. So Bobby donated his time to help us launch this thing. He came over and gave expert advice. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, I felt so blessed. Okay, so very first year, we had a lot of boo-boos, but we did 19 games. We served 22 youth. We put them up video on demand, and a couple times they blew up our website. We got a lucky break that guy Harbaugh was at one of our games and came up and sat in the booth with the kids and put on the headset and did the yakety yak. So, hero's journey. This is what people want to see. They want you, it's really sad, but it's true. They want you to achieve a lot with a little. And, you know, it's really hard to get people to give you any money for something that's just an idea, which is sad, because sometimes you do get people who really get it right away and they'll give you $25K or something. But so with very little money and some very passionate volunteers, we demonstrated, you know, we're real. So we did this. So we've got a sports boosters. So parents of some of the kids and some passionate parents from the high schools who got it formed sports boosters for us. And they did a bunch of graphics design. They did a bunch of marketing collateral. They helped do email blasts. They got us access to school e-newsletters. They just did a whole bunch of just oiling the wheels. And then one of our boosters, a mom said, "Oh my gosh, parents would pay so much money to have their kids trained in this stuff." So rather than give it away, we did a sports broadcasting camp. And lo and behold, Bobby came over, and a bunch of other people lined up to teach it. And then what we ended up having was last year's volunteer kids came on as interns and taught. So we had adult mentors, we had mid-level mentorship from high school kids going into college, very meaningful for the younger kids. And then this broadcasting camp was most successful with middle schoolers, which actually was amazing to me. We made it 5 days, 10 to 4. These kids were ready to shoot on Wednesday. We didn't take them out into the field. We shot, we went to Helen High School and we shot some scrimmages at a sports camp there. These kids were fantastic. I couldn't believe it. And so the parents start going nuts, and there's a whole yakety yak there. And then we start connecting with the school's IT department. We start really making those kinds of connections to say, well, how can we go live? I mean, where's the Ethernet cable? Yada, yada, yada. And lo and behold, we went live on September 13th, 2013. There's a 5th grader doing the graphics machine, and look how bored she looks. It's like, whatever. But see, that's how good they get it so fast. And I mean, my heart was just so full last month. I just tell you. And anyway, so there we go. So there's a build. And now for sustainability. That seed donor, I went back to the seed donor. I said, looky loo, look what we did with your $1,000. So he's given us another $1,500. The Elks, we went and got in front of them. They're giving us $1,000, one ask. And then because of this little buzz that we started to create because we were visible and the truck was rolling and the kids are laughing and having a good time, well, a local company, we found out there was a connection through one of the families, and they were kind of lurking about in the shadows. So we brought them out of the shadows, and they said, well, you know, what do you really need to make this thing fly? We see what this is doing for the community. And so I said, well, I need $10,000 just so I can start to pay Chuck. And then what I want is another $50,000 to upgrade the truck. So this company has promised $10,000, and they're going to help us with the youth. They want the youth to raise the funds for the truck upgrade. So this is definite, and this is like, oh, this is scary. This whole fundraising with the youth thing, what is that going to look like? That's scary. And then, of course, the new thing is, now that I have these peeps, how do I take care of them? You know, we've got to, I want to make sure I keep the bill, that they feel appreciated. You know, I don't know, give them a croissant, I don't know. And so there you go. So that's my model. My model, proprietary to me, is you have a concept. It has some kind of traction. There's a little bit of excitement. You get some champions that know, that share your vision. Then you roll it out in a pilot program. And only then really can you start to attract, for us, I mean, for me, the money that really will build and sustain. So it's not, you know, those overnight successes that you hear about, it's like, there's no way any of those people that are overnight successes are overnight successes. Maybe, no, I think it's actually impossible. So, up next, we have got another little program kind of based on this model, so I'll just close out with this. Oh, I need this all. Where is it? Trailer application, which apparently is just dropping the music, dropping the pictures. And did I make those? No. I had one of my believers make that. So I actually have no skills. I'm an administrator. Okay. Any questions? Anybody of me? And then we can open it up to the game. See, so 5 to 3. Well, who here has got a successful community partnership or strategic partnership story? Anybody?
It reminded me of when you said, you know, don't say no. I'm from PAC TV. Everybody's been telling us we're the furthest east group of the Western region from Plymouth, Mass. And we are very proud of our primary town. Plymouth is America's hometown, and we developed a partnership with Plymouth Plantation, which is a living history museum for the Wampanoag indigenous people from Massachusetts as well as the colonists. And it's a Smithsonian affiliate. Years ago, one of the directors, you know, just at a meeting, I think it was a chamber meeting, we were just talking about something that they were looking to do. And it was something completely different than we had done before. They wanted to do a one play one community program with Romeo and Juliet. They were starting up a theater program that was actually performing Shakespeare at the plantation in the way it was performed in 1627 with Collins Kane. So it was an all-male cast. It was something a little different, and they really wanted to, you know, help promote that. So they had gotten a very small amount of money to try to do a whole program over the summer. So they pulled us together along with the local library, and for, you know, I think $1,500, we were able to do a full community program that lasted an entire summer. It included, they did programs at the library. They were able to purchase copies of Romeo and Juliet for everybody who attended the events. They did readings, they did picnics, they did outdoor performances. We complemented it with a talk show series that we did at the studio using volunteers that we were able to put not just on our channel, but the library put it on their website, the plantation put it on their website.
That's fantastic.
They had much further reach. We also recreated the entire play and recreated their black box theater in our studio and did a theatrical presentation of the play. That then ended up going to Smithsonian affiliates and on with their website as well. So we really got a lot of promotion for public access, and it kind of started a partnership that since then we've done a number of projects with them. This summer, they hired us, and again, they're the ones going out and doing grant writing also. So they've been, because they have grant writing staff, they've been able to find the funding for these things, that we don't necessarily have the staff to do. So this last year, we spent, I think we did it in 6 shoots altogether. We followed the process of a traditional dugout boat being created by the Mashpee Wampanoag people. And it was they had been accepted that they were going to be able to donate one of the traditional boats to the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian in DC. So they asked us to follow the process. So we documented it and did a mini documentary about the creation. And then we were actually able to follow them down to DC when they delivered the machine to the Smithsonian. And we were able to do a follow-up news piece. From that, the Smithsonian was tweeting out things about PAC TV. And they have the video as part of the collection now at NMAI. And this is now leading to the Smithsonian coming back to us saying, you know what, I think public access is really the direction we should go in creating distance learning programs. You guys were able to partner together, we're able to do things together. We've got the capacity to go for funding, but we've never been able to afford to do something of this level. You guys can provide the discounted production services at high quality. So now we're looking at moving forward with them on another project. So by saying there's no limit, what do you want to do, and just trying to explore it with them, it's really turned into a long-term relationship that I think has been really fantastic for all of us.
Wow, that's you should be up there. That's a stunning story. Excellent story.
This is one. I'll turn myself on.
No, you're on.
This is one of the great things about what we do is that opportunities to say yes. So just another example, a guy from our community came to me, and he was an author, and he said, you should really do a show about my book. And I go, Russell, why would I want to do that? And he spun this incredible tale that he wrote a book about a woman from Liberia who was genitally mutilated as a child and moved to the United States, and sort of her story. And he said, it's not about me, it's about interviewing her. And then I said, great idea, let's do it. And the guy keeps talking to her. I said, Russell, I already said yes. Now it's just a question of figuring out how. So we made the show, it came out very well, and the woman who the show was about was able to use that show as a fundraising opportunity to go back to Liberia, which she did very recently, and to educate people about the experience that she had been through. So when you get a chance to do that, that is so powerful and exciting and gratifying. I had a couple of questions for Gary, though. One is when, and this may have been before your time, when you guys started to charge for regular slots that were promotable, what kind of a hue and outcry was there? And the other thing is, it's so incredible, the range of stuff that Access Sacramento does. When I used to talk to your predecessor, I would always come away from the conversations exhausted. How can you possibly keep your head around all those things and try and continue them? In my view, it's not possible. And that was one of the beauties of Ron, is he was doing the impossible, but I wouldn't wish that on somebody else.
Well, I guess the first part of your question had to do with how do we do it all, or what was the first part? It was
About monetizing the regular
monetizing,
series
right.
when it used to be free.
Well, yes, it used to be free, but when we hit that major cutback in funding that came from the Cable Commission, there was a need to essentially increase our finances. And so the way that we felt that was easiest to do that was not by increasing general membership. General membership is the heart, blood, and soul of what we tell the Cable Commission we're all about, getting people's voices onto our channel. And so, it's like in radio and television advertising. If you increase your rates, your inventory goes down. The number of people who will buy on your channel goes lower because you're trying to create inventory, so you have more space for promos and such. So it's the basic economics of a defined, a limited resource. So we didn't want to increase membership costs, feeling it would decrease the total number. But we did feel that at a small stipend, and $175 won't even buy you a 30-second commercial in Sacramento. We're the 19th largest market in the United States, and to get any type of television time at all is going to cost you more than $175. So for us to say for 52 weeks, you can get a half hour of television time in Sacramento, it was a relatively cheap price to offer. And the story in our orientation that we talk about, because we're also on the web, is that this reaches not just in Sacramento County. The story that I got from Ron from several months ago was the day, and maybe Michelle, who's on our staff, took a phone call in the main office from South Africa, because there was a minister who had a program on our channel with a mission church in Africa. And we got a phone call from this gentleman who said, I turned on at the right time, I tuned into the internet, and the pastor wasn't on. What happened to him? He wasn't there. And so we checked, and our program had been on, and it was on the internet stream, it was on our channel, everything was normal from our side. But here's a guy in South Africa tuning into accesssacramento.org to hear his pastor, to hear the voice of someone in Sacramento. And that kind of compelling story, when you talk to a minister, for example, about the price of a half hour, and he goes, 175 bucks, 52 shots at saving someone's soul. 52 shots at changing someone from good to bad, or bad to good, sorry. Okay, bad to good. How many souls does he have to save for $175 a year for him to feel like he's gotten his money's worth?
Well,
The fact is, it's easy.
so you mentioned 175 a year, but how about the ones that have something to say? You said you want to promote voices for everyone. Right.
Sure.
So that person may not have the skills to go off and get that money.
Right?
Or, yeah.
For $30 a year membership, you get a show a month. You can turn something into us every month, and we're going to air it. And whether it's 30 seconds long or whether it's 4 hours long, we're going to air it.
So, is there like a payment plan? Is there a trade?
They can do quarterly payments. Michelle, you know more about this than I do.
Yeah, I was just going to add that. They get 1 hour of airtime a month, whether they want to do it 10 minutes or 2 half hours or 1 full hour. But with the series, we give them options. So if they think of it like, well, I don't want it 1 hour a week, I can pay for 3 months. So here's my $30 or $50 or $75. And they can break that down into smaller increments if they wanted the series. So we try to work with people. And it's never, we're even flexible if somebody's like, well, I can do this much this time and this much this time.
So they can get that quarterly payment if they want. And in many instances, they only want 1 show a month, but they want a specific time to promote. That's a series contract, but it's only 1/4 of
I was going to add, it was a congregation that was watching it.
Oh, a congregation.
They were all sitting.
There was one. No, they all didn't see it.
Parents.
I have a question. The fact is, we've always looked at access as in saying, okay, you have the free right away, and so we don't charge for the actual airtime. You know what I mean? So we do the whole thing. We do like $50 a year if your producer is within Pasadena,
Right.
or, local, regional, $100 a year. And so because of the whole it being a free right away, we really are about the services we charge for, or being part of the membership to receive the services without extracting their right away. Meaning that if they wanted to, let's say they don't want to produce in-house, because we have a studio, they don't want to produce a show in-house, and they're shooting something at home, if they're within the local area of Pasadena, they're able to, right now we're actually letting anybody who wants to bicycle on the show, but specifically in Pasadena, if we wanted to sort of cut that off, they have the free right of way. How does that, to me, I guess in my head, how does that not affect you as almost charging lease access?
the difference is that if they bring us a show, we're gonna air it. That's their free right away.
Okay.
Their ability to promote a specific time spot every week or on a quarterly basis or once a month or whatever it is on the third Tuesday,
Right.
it's that ability to know that their show is gonna be on at a particular time that we're selling.
So it's not the right of way, it's not the access,
Yeah.
it is.
It's the continued
it's the
specific
schedule.
access.
Because we do the same thing. 'cause we do
That's a good
schedule.
idea.
Yeah.
And having more than that hour. Yeah.
Market
So
terminology.
it's fair to everybody.
And then, so then you get into the scheduling, you got 24 hours a day.
Right.
So
We have
you
two
start
channels, so
selling-
how do we schedule?
Yeah.
We have two channels. Channel 17 is the Sacramento channel, and it's programmed by our programming committee. And that houses all the things that are Sacramento, the hometown game of the week, original programming from Sacramento, everything family friendly, 24 hours a day, that's the Sacramento channel. It's local access.
Family friendly.
And then channel 18 is our public access. Anybody in Sacramento County who brings us something is gonna have it on that channel. That's, if you bring it, you can have it. The difference being that in managing that equal time opportunity, we do an annual program lottery. And we just had it last month. And what happens is everybody who has a series contract on channel 18 gets their name thrown into the hat. And it's pulled out one at a time. And then that series provider can choose the time slot anywhere in the week that they want. So it happens once a year, and if you want to grab Sunday at 6 o'clock because you want a Sunday program and somebody used to be there, well, you got there first this year, so you're going to come in. And then we always negotiate trades and a variety of other things that's necessary that people want to do that. But it's very fair because it happens once a year, and we've really kind of managed this successfully for probably 6 or 7 years now, and we have absolutely no complaint.
Yeah, TV Tracks, our programming director, does it, and he actually has one of his kids coming to it, so nobody can get mad at the kids.
Right. The name that comes out of the hat is drawn by a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
so, you know, it's
So
like,
in other words, you're being filmed when this is happening.
well, it's a public meeting. It's,
Oh.
you know, and if the series program provider doesn't care when they're gonna go on, they'll come to the meeting.
Yeah.
And whatever's left over, they'll pick a slot.
Is that labor intensive? I think Create TV does it that
We
way.
do that.
Takes an hour and a half.
We do that too.
Takes an hour and a half to get
And
through.
who's we? What's your?
Create
Oh, yeah.
TV. Create TV.
Create TV, that's right.
For your public access
Right.
annual
Public
series
access
contracts?
channels.
Yeah.
Because we have 4 channels that we manage.
I mean, I would schlep, because I have a show at bicycle down there, and I would schlep down to the lotteries, and like, can you serve cocktails or something? It's like, I'm like, really? I have to come down
We're in the
here?
library, we're in the public libraries where we do it.
I'm curious, how do you do live programming on your public access channel? If so, how do you manage that in with the lottery for the time slots?
I don't believe that we do any live programming on public access 18. On our Channel 17 Sacramento channel, we do the longest running weekly talk show. Michelle produces it. The longest running weekly half-hour talk show in Sacramento. We started in 1992. That show has been on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock with a live half-hour talk show. That's on Channel 17. Sacramento Soapbox, a political type of show, is an hour long on Mondays.
Yeah, and that's community.
And that's a community producer. They do 1 week tape, 1 week live. That's out of our studio. Of course, high school football is always live. We've done a variety of other live events.
That's on 17.
That's on 17. And it is generally supported then by staff. Although Soapbox is all volunteer and all community, which means they have one engineer in the room who's going to make sure that things go well. But that's, most of our live programming is going to be supported by staff. We have a great working partnership with my old college, Covina River College. And with that crew, we've done live Veterans Day Parade and Memorial Day Parade, with them staffing it, and just with 2 engineers.
what would you say, well, I know you've only been, you've been an executive director for 3 months. How long have you been with Sacramento?
I moved to Sacramento 23 years ago.
Okay.
And was with the college for 20 years running the radio TV program like Don at Laverne. I was at Covina River College running the major radio TV production program in the area.
I'm asking that question to make sure that you might have the answer to this one.
But
Do you happen to know your longest running producer?
on Access Sacramento?
On your Access Sacramento.
That'd be a TV question.
That'd be a TV question. Jeannie Keltner, who does Sacramento Soapbox, has been around.
That's,
You know who would know is Randy Van Olsen. Randy would know.
Because I was wondering, because I tell you the reason why. The reason why I asked is because we deal with programming, and we have producers who've been producing like 15 years. Like, 20, as long as I was, how old am I now? Yeah, about 20 years. Right? And so we're still trying to work out the kinks of saying, you can't have your production slot or your air time anymore.
Right.
Or trying to come up with, I've been filtering on the 3 years I've been doing programming there. I've been sort of filtering this egotistical belief system that they own their time slot.
Well, that's public, it was easier. It was easy for us to start charging, for example, if we hadn't had a big major financial cut.
Yeah.
It would have been difficult to bring something like this on board, to start paying. The person who strikes my mind as being the longest producer is a radio producer. There's a guy who does Hispanic or salsa music primarily. He calls himself the mayor of Salsamento. So, he's been doing radio shows on our internet station and cable back channel for about 20 years.
Yeah, Mike Linskin, and we gave him a little, at the annual membership meeting where we give out our awards, we gave him a special honors for like 500 plus shows.
Right.
In Contra Costa County, there's no nonprofit access operation. And our educational access channel that had been run out of the community college pulled the plug. And just like when Comcast closed the doors, we kept the lights on. And we're going to keep the lights on for this educational access channel. Although they didn't have any regular programming, they clung to an old model of telecourses. And rebuilding educational access is a lot easier of a discussion to have with our municipalities than trying to start up public access, even though we want to do both.
Right.
What kind of partnerships can I now pursue if the community college fails? I mean, we tried to get them to pick up public access. Any suggestions?
Well, Don may have a better view, but the first thing that comes to mind, and I'll just say, is that there's PEG access dollars. You have capital.
Oh, exactly. No, the partnership, I'm government. Of course, I know we're sitting on money.
Right.
And we want to throw money at people, but...
So I guess the brokered deal is go to the community college and say, if you want to upgrade your studio, if you want to put in your microphones and monitors and upgrade, then we have dollars that may help you do that if you provide engineering support to do the installation, and if you provide a part-time IA to run the classes.
They just walked away from the channel.
Well, why did they? Yeah, why did they?
Well, one of the reasons they said it was no money, and the change in the missions for community colleges in the state, I think that's changing a little bit. Their emphasis on graduation and transfer rates, and because they clung to that old model. They never had a good educational access model where it was easy for the educational community to use the channel. So that was a barrier to access, really, to the whole education community. So we understand some of those core issues that not only apply to educational access, but public access. And so, it's probably going to be municipalities that are partnering with us.
I would start by doing that, talking to people, which I'm sure you're already doing.
We got a song and dance, yes.
And have you actually brought people together in a room with some Danish or something and a coffee?
We started.
Talk about,
yeah.
And then to talk about points of mutual intersection, what we all have in common, here's this resource, here's this money, it's this empty ring, right?
Right.
So you already, you've done all this?
Well, we've started, actually. It's one interesting thing here. Somebody who works for a city who's also on another city council, who has torpedoed every suggestion about anything about public access, she's now excited about doing something about educational access. So we're working it. And the common interests, you know, most cities do something for the schools in the district. So we're going to play up a lot of things. So actually, I've heard a lot of wonderful examples. And some private partnerships, businesses, those are interesting models. Where they work or not.
Just in terms of the educational model, I mean, there's money and there's a channel. So these are a couple of pretty big carrots.
Yeah.
So it's finding the right educational institution to partner with, whether it's a school district or a high school that has a program that does this. And you've got a lot to bring to the table there,
Really do.
or another college. And I know in this area there's a very good private college with a great broadcast program.
May I ask,
The,
may I ask a question? It seems like all your channels are separated. We are under a combined contract with the city of San Jose to operate all 4 channels. And
on
of them
one
is-
channel, or you're
No, we
operating
have
4
4
different
channels.
channels? Okay.
And one of ours is a community college channel, and there's a coalition of about 4 or 5 community colleges in the area that go together, work out programming for them.
Right.
And they do a lot of online courses for their students, which is really helpful. And then we take another channel which had been community college and converted that to a K-12 channel, which is now being, showing a lot of K-12
Yeah, that'd
programming.
be tough to get things going.
Well, we did a grant program with high schools and elementary schools, and we gave 17 schools to
Well-
use to help them produce programs that then comes back to us for airing.
Well, let me,
Sounds like she's a good person to talk to.
Yeah,
'cause
but I think
let
the
me
use of the
figure it out
channel
here.
right.
and the new vision for the use of the channel is
Well,
key.
let me just say that
Yeah.
the 2 educational channels in Sacramento are run by a different
They're run
entity,
by different.
Sacramento
that's why I was
Educational
asking.
Cable Coalition. And the way that they've done it is with PEG monies. And they started by, well, not started, they've been around forever. They have a lot of original programming from Sac State and from Cosumnes River College. We do 60 hours of live class broadcasting out of Cosumnes River College every week. Students who can enroll in a class and watch it from home. But the extension of that is the SECC has partnered with the Cable Commission to put cable television in every high school, and then in every junior high, and then now in every elementary school. And the Cable Commission has put, I think over the last 2 years, $2.2 million a year into that outreach, putting fiber and cable and equipment for cable broadcasting into, not broadcasting, cable reception into every school in the county. And that program's now in its 5th of 5 years. They'll probably go for more money next year to do continued outreach in the educational arena.
They were supposed to have hooked up all our schools years and years ago.
Well, this-
Podcast was, they, you know.
Yeah.
Now-
We have gotten to the front door and to the street of the school, but they never finished up into the school
Well,
itself.
I can tell you that there's been big bucks that have
Big
been
bucks.
spent to make that happen.
I know.
Also, if there's a, whoever represents the youth, represents strong youth organizations in the
Right,
county.
youth commissions.
I think youth engagement, I
Right.
mean, it's actually, it's not just window dressing and fluff. I mean, kids need to be handed responsibility, and they will step up, but they are not being handed the responsibility that will help them grow to, strong
Right.
citizens that are civically engaged. And I think that's our like really our password, I think, is youth engagement. So if there's a way to partner with an organization that works with you.
That cable outreach piece, the cable companies love that. Because who are you going to hire to put their cable into their school? So now it's their money coming through the Cable Commission back to them so that they have more subscribers in the schools. And then the spin-off dollars on making all of that happen is a very powerful argument for government to put money into educational cable. But if you don't have a channel that's broadcasting anything, there's so what are they going to watch? History Channel?
So are you and Brian pulling the whole barge on this one right now?
Sort of.
Yeah, so that's heavy. That's a heavy barge.
Good examples, so thanks.
Anybody else?